For Sherwood Park.
Mr. Speaker, when we gather in this legislature, we are entrusted with the responsibility of shaping the kind of society Alberta will become. We debate budgets. In the last few years, a lot of deficit budgets. We pass laws. We argue about priorities. But at the heart of all this is a much bigger question: what kind of province do we want to build together? I believe we should always strive to make Alberta a place where every person has the opportunity to thrive. A province that is not only prosperous but inclusive. A province where our communities are strong because everyone can participate fully in them. That is why I rise today in support of Bill 206, the Accessible Alberta Act, a thoughtful piece of legislation brought forward by the MLA for St. Albert. Yeah, hear, hear. This legislation sets an ambitious but necessary goal, creating a barrier-free Alberta by the year 2040. It proposes a standard-based approach to identifying, preventing, and removing barriers that limit participation for people with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, this is not a radical idea. In fact, Alberta is behind. Accessible legislation already exists in 8 other provinces and at the federal level through the Accessible Canada Act. That federal law established a national framework for developing accessibility standards and set the same goal, a barrier-free Canada by 2040. We need to bring this legislation to Alberta. Under that framework, organizations such as government departments, crown corporations, and federally regulated industries must develop accessible plans and report on their progress towards removing barriers. Bill 206 follows a similar path with our province. It would bring Alberta in line with the rest of the country and give us the tools to systematically identify barriers, whether they existed in buildings, digital services, employment practices, transportation systems, or public programs, and remove them. An example of low curbs mentioned by the MLA for Lethbridge West is such a great example of how working on accessibility in this province benefits everyone. Accessibility doesn't happen by accident. It happens through thoughtful design, deliberate policy, and clear standards. True accessibility requires listening to the people who experience barriers every day. Their knowledge must shape the solutions. Bill 206 recognizes that principle of ensuring people with disabilities are part of the process and develops accessibility standards. And Mr. Speaker, it's worth noting that when the government ignores the principle, the consequences are real. We have seen in this recently with the government's decision to overhaul the Assured Income for Severely Handicapped, AISH program, and transition people into the Alberta Disability Assistance Program, a program that many disability advocates say happened without proper consultation and will result in lower benefits for thousands of Albertans. Advocates like Bean Gill and Zachary Weeks, and I'm so glad they are here today. That is precisely why the principle of nothing about us without us matters. And I know the MLA for St. Albert included the people with disabilities and the advocates in the creation of this legislation. Mr. Speaker, accessibility is not just a matter of fairness, it's also a matter of opportunity. And the Alberta Chambers of Commerce, they understand this. In fact, the chambers, including Sherwood Park Chamber of Commerce, released a policy proposal calling on the government to implement accessibility legislation in Alberta. Yep. Because businesses recognize that inclusive workplaces expand the labour pool and strengthen the economy. And that matters right now. We're running a deficit budget. We could use more people making more income in this province. This government has run out of ideas of how to balance the provincial budget. Income tax is still its largest source of revenue. If the UCP didn't waste so much money on their pet projects and help more people work, they'd help Alberta balance its budget again. Mr. Speaker, we see the value of this work every day in communities across Alberta. In my own community of Sherwood Park, we are fortunate to have organizations that demonstrate that inclusive society, what inclusive society looks like in practice. And one of those organizations is the Robin Hood Association. And for decades, Robin Hood has been a part of our community. It has worked to support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, helping ensure that every individual has the opportunity to live a full life, contribute to their community, and simply have a great day. That's the motto of the Robin Hood Association. Their work strengthens families, it strengthens communities, and it reminds us that inclusion, what it truly looks like. Another remarkable organization in Sherwood Park is Winder Inclusive Community Service. They support neurodivergent adults by helping build meaningful relationships, develop confidence, and create fulfilling lives. Their work is about empowerment, about ensuring that individuals are recognized as valued members of their communities and have the opportunity to shape their own futures. Organizations like these are doing the work of building an accessible Alberta. What Bill 206 does is ensure our laws catch up with the values that many communities are already living. Mr. Speaker, in a few weeks, I'll attend the Robin Hood Association Empowerment Gala in Sherwood Park. April 9th, I invite everyone to buy a ticket, buy a table, support the Robin Hood Association. And I would love to be able to stand in that room and tell the people, the families, the advocates, the staff, and the individuals whose lives are touched by their work that this legislature passed Bill 206. That Alberta chose to join the rest of Canada in committing to a barrier-free society in 2040. That we recognize accessibility not as an afterthought, but as a foundational part of building a great society. Because when we remove barriers, we invite more people in. More people into our workplaces, more people into our schools, more people into our communities, and when everyone can participate fully, Alberta becomes stronger, more innovative, and more compassionate. That is the kind of province we should be striving to build, a great society, one where everyone belongs and thrives. Mr. Speaker, I encourage all members of this House to support Bill 206, the Accessible Alberta Act. Thank you.